We have a verdict in the Wade Wilson case. I'm taking you there right now. 2 hours, 5 minutes, 15 seconds. The jury was deliberating. He's there. There you see him there. The court is now telling people in the gallery that they cannot have any outbursts when there is a verdict and wants anybody in the gallery to leave. This is a very tense moment right now for everyone, including the jury, the victims' families, except maybe Mr. Wilson. He doesn't look too concerned, even though if he's convicted, this would be a death penalty murder and there will be a penalty phase going forward. So you hear the judge in the background, standard instructions. But look at Mr. Wilson, because I guarantee you, everybody in that courtroom is looking at him right now. Let me bring in Judge Fanon Rucker, Alexis Rosenberg. Judge, at this point, the judge is ready to throw anybody out who has an emotion. What's it like being on the bench in a case like this?
Well, it's a tense case. It's a serious case. There's always emotions tied up in our death penalty cases, or just in cases where someone's life is lost. And so you really want to maintain the courtroom's solemnity. And so it's tough to do because of the emotions. But as judges, we really are very serious about trying to make that happen.
All right. So the jury is now coming back into the courtroom. That's why everyone is standing for the jury. Look at how big Mr. Wilson is, by the way. That's the first time I've seen him stand. He's enormous. And the jury must have been looking at him and thinking about what Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz felt. And now the jury is about to give their verdict. Remember, 2 counts of murder. And there you also see some other tattoos that apparently he's in jail right now. Alexis, I may have to interrupt you if the jury starts deliberating or giving their verdict right now, but this is pretty scary if you're looking at it. Alexis? Okay, if I'm in that courtroom, I'm pretty nervous looking at him because and thinking about what the 2 women must have gone through who he's accused of murdering. If he is found guilty, we'll go to another phase. That's why we're waiting now. And here we go.
Please, my understanding is you have reached a verdict. Pass that to the booth. Verdict form appears to be in order. I'll have the clerk publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit and in Fort Lee County, Florida, criminal action. State of Florida versus Wade Wilson. Case number 19 CF 0568. Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follow as to the defendant in this case. Count 1, first-degree murder, Christine Melton. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2, grand theft motor vehicle. The defendant is guilty of grand theft motor vehicle. Count 3, battery. The defendant is guilty of battery. Count 4, first-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 5, burglary of dwelling. The defendant is guilty of burglary of a dwelling. Count 6, first-degree petty theft. The defendant is guilty of first-degree petty theft. Dated 6/12/24, so say we all, 4-person.
All right, does either party wish to have the jury polled?
Yes, please.
All right. Let me just my number. Okay. Wait, no. Okay, so they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Juror number 97, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 234, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 3, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 205, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 101, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, ma'am.
Juror 215, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, ma'am.
Juror 87, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 362, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 136, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole? Juror 193, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 315, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 309, is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is send you back to the jury room for a few moments. Let me discuss some things with the attorneys, and then I'll bring you back up.
All rise. They can take their electronics now.
No, just leave everything here. Sorry. Leave everything here for the moment.
Wow, Alexis Rosenberg, I mean, as he stood up there, the defendant who's now been convicted of 2 first-degree murders, burglary, theft of an automobile, he's just so big. And if I'm the jury now, even thinking about him strangling both of those women, it's almost like the Rex Heuermann, you know, the Long Island serial killer case, didn't have a chance here. It's pretty scary, isn't it? Oh, Alexis, I think you're on mute. Okay, so Fanon, let me talk to you about this. Not only is this pretty scary, the jury is now being sent back because I think the judges decide when they're going to do the penalty phase, because it'll be the same jury who decides, but they already have decided here that there's some aggravating factors. You've got some felonies here, right? You've got the burglary, you've got the theft. Talk to us, please. Tell us about what's going on.
That's right. Well, what we know is in death penalty cases, there are 2 phases. We've gotten through the first phase, and that's the guilt phase. And of course, you mentioned during the guilt phase, there is evidence or testimony provided that lends itself to the ultimate question of whether or not the murders were committed by this person. And so some of those factors are aggravating. However, the death penalty phase has a specific focus, and that's to determine if the death penalty is an appropriate consequence. Even though there may be aggravating factors that were presented and testified about, now we're going to talk about specifically those opportunities for the defense to present mitigation, those humanizing factors.
Yeah.
Humanizing factors.
Now, I just want to interrupt you right here. The mitigation focuses on the defense presents whatever would indicate that maybe the death penalty shouldn't be given. But shouldn't that have been started in the trial? I mean, here the defense attorney, as you and I heard earlier today, because I know you were watching before he got on the show, that he could have been out of his mind. What about saying maybe this was rough sex and they died during rough sex? They didn't put any of those factors of how this crime occurred into to bring it over to the penalty phase, Judge.
Well, there's a careful strategy that you have to take there, because if you're looked at as presenting mitigation during the trial, you're almost giving up the fight that you would make about whether or not, in fact, he is responsible or guilty of the crimes in the first place. If you focus more on, well, here's the reasons why, or here's some mitigation justifying why these things may have happened, then again, it's almost like you're admitting that the crime occurred. When you have a specific hearing that will focus specifically on those issues of mitigation, save it for mitigation.
All right, so we're going to have to see what the judge says is the next hearing, or whether it goes right into a death penalty phase tomorrow or right now. But right now, first-degree murder charges he's been convicted of Christine Melton's murder and also Diane Marie's murder. That's Wade Wilson. The jury took a little over 2 hours. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more on this case, Karen Reed and YSL. Stay with us. We are Law and Crime.